Did you know that following President Trump's aggressive tariff hikes in 2025, which slapped 25% to 50% duties on imports from key nations like India and China, 8 countries have become over 80% dependent on India for essential goods and services? This shocking shift has sidelined the United States, once a major player in global trade, as supply chains reroute away from American markets amid rising costs and protectionism. Trump's policies, intended to make America great again by boosting domestic manufacturing, have instead accelerated India's rise as a reliable alternative supplier, especially in pharmaceuticals, textiles, energy, and IT services. With India's exports surging 5.5% to $820.93 billion in FY 2024-25. These nations are now leaning heavily on New Delhi for survival. In this video, we'll count down from 8 to 1, unpacking each country's dependency, how Trump's tariffs fueled it, and fresh 2025 updates. Buckle up. This is the New World Order of Trade. Number 8. Mauritius. This island nation in the Indian Ocean has long relied on India for economic ties. But Trump's 2025 tariffs have pushed its dependency to over 80% in key sectors like pharmaceuticals, textiles, and food imports. Historically, Mauritius imported about 18% of its total goods from India, but with U.S. tariffs disrupting global supply chains, particularly the 40% levy on transshipped goods from Asia, Mauritian businesses found American alternatives too expensive. India stepped in with affordable generics and apparel, filling the void left by sidelined U.S. exporters. Educationally, this highlights how tariffs can create trade diversion. When U.S. prices spiked due to reciprocal duties, Mauritius pivoted to India's Make in India initiative for cost-effective solutions. In a 2025 update, Mauritius signed a new comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement (CEPA) extension with India in March, boosting imports by 15% year-over-year, including vital sugar processing equipment. This deal not only stabilized Mauritius's economy amid global inflation, but also reduced its U.S. trade share to under 5%, underscoring India's growing influence. As of August 2025, with Trump's threats of 100% tariffs on foreign chips looming, Mauritius is investing in Indian tech hubs, ensuring long-term resilience. Number 7. Sri Lanka. Ravaged by economic crises in recent years, Sri Lanka's dependency on India has escalated to 80% in energy, pharmaceuticals, and infrastructure materials following Trump's tariff barrage. Previously importing around 22% from India, the island nation faced chaos when U.S. tariffs on Indian goods indirectly hiked costs for transatlantic shipments, making American fuel and machinery unaffordable. Trump's 50% tariff on Indian exports in July 2025, cited for India's Russian oil purchases, paradoxically benefited Sri Lanka by forcing it to deepen ties with New Delhi, which provided credit lines for fuel imports. This educates us on trade interdependence. Tariffs meant to punish one country can ripple, sidelining the U.S. while empowering regional powers like India. A key 2025 update came in April when India extended a $1 billion credit facility for essential imports, leading to a 20% surge in bilateral trade. By mid-2025, Sri Lanka's U.S. import reliance dropped to 7%, replaced by Indian diesel and medicines. Recent reports from August 2025 show Sri Lanka joining India's International Solar Alliance more actively, importing solar panels at subsidized rates, which has helped stabilize power grids and reduce blackouts, proving how India's soft power trumps U.S. isolationism. Number 6. Ghana. In West Africa, Ghana's shift to over 80% dependency on India for oil products, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural inputs was turbocharged by Trump's 2025 tariffs, which disrupted traditional U.S. supply lines. With baseline imports from India at about 24%, Ghana experienced sticker shock when Trump's 25% universal import duties made American refined petroleum and fertilizers prohibitively expensive. India, unscathed in African markets, ramped up exports via its Pharma Vision 2030, supplying affordable generics that now dominate Ghana's healthcare. This scenario illustrates the boomerang effect of protectionism. U.S. tariffs aimed at China and India ended up pricing America out of emerging markets, allowing India to fill the gap. Educationally, It shows how dependency metrics spike in specific sectors. Ghana's pharma imports from India hit 85% by Q2 2025. A major update in June 2025 was the India-Ghana Joint Trade Committee agreeing to a barter system for gold against Indian machinery, boosting imports by 18%. As of August 2025, with Trump's expansion of tariffs to consumer goods, Ghana's U.S. trade volume fell 12%, while Indian investments in Accra's tech parks promise job creation, highlighting sustainable development over short-term trade wars. Number 5. Afghanistan. Amid ongoing instability, Afghanistan's reliance on India has reached 80% in food grains, medicines, and construction materials, amplified by Trump's tariffs sidelining U.S. aid and trade. Starting from a 56% import share, the landlocked nation turned fully to India when U.S. sanctions and 50% tariffs on regional goods inflated costs for American wheat and equipment. India's humanitarian corridors, bypassing tariff-hit routes, became lifelines, educating viewers on how geopolitics intersects with trade. Trump's policies isolated the U.S., while India's non-aligned stance won hearts. In 2025, a February air corridor initiative saw Indian exports jump 25%, including vital wheat shipments amid famine risks. By August 2025, with Trump's warnings on Russian ties affecting indirect trades, Afghanistan inked a new pact with India for $500 million in infrastructure aid, reducing U.S. influence to negligible levels. This dependency fosters education and health ties, with Indian scholarships for Afghan students surging, proving that soft diplomacy outlasts tariffs in rebuilding nations. Number 4. Mozambique. This Southeast African country has surged to 80% dependency on India for coal, pharmaceuticals, and machinery, driven by Trump's 2025 tariffs that made U.S. energy exports uncompetitive. From a 28% baseline, Mozambique pivoted as Trump's 40% penalties on transshipped resources hiked American coal prices, allowing India's Adani Group to dominate with cheaper alternatives. This teaches the irony of tariffs. Designed to protect U.S. jobs, they instead boosted Indian conglomerates in Africa, sidelining American firms. A 2025 highlight was the May India-Mozambique Energy Forum, where bilateral trade grew 22%, focusing on natural gas swaps. As of August 2025, amid Trump's chip tariff threats, Mozambique's U.S. import share plummeted to 8%, replaced by Indian investments in Maputo ports. This shift supports Mozambique's economic diversification, with Indian pharma covering 90% of HIV treatments, emphasizing how regional partnerships eclipse global superpowers in the post-tariff era. Number 3. Guinea-Bissau. One of Africa's smallest economies, Guinea-Bissau now depends on India for over 80% of its cashew processing equipment, pharmaceuticals, and rice imports, a direct fallout from Trump's tariffs disrupting U.S. agricultural flows. Building on a 67% import foundation, the nation faced shortages when Trump's 25% duties on Indian intermediates indirectly raised costs for American substitutes. India filled the breach with subsidized rice under its food security program, illustrating how tariffs can exacerbate vulnerabilities in least developed countries, sidelining the U.S. while elevating India's role. Educationally, this underscores supply chain resilience. Guinea-Bissau's pharma sector now sources 85% from India. In a 2025 update, an April trade mission led to a 30% import increase, including solar kits for rural electrification. By August 2025, with Trump's expanded consumer tariffs, U.S. presence dwindled to 4%, as Indian NGOs boosted healthcare access, fostering long-term growth over punitive trade measures. Number 2. Nepal. Landlocked and neighbor to India, Nepal's dependency has hit 80% across hydropower components, petroleum, and consumer goods, intensified by Trump's 2025 tariffs that priced out U.S. alternatives. From a 70% starting point, Nepal accelerated ties when Trump's 50% levy on Indian exports rippled into higher regional costs, making American machinery unaffordable for infrastructure projects. This educates on neighborly economics. Tariffs meant for big players like China hurt small nations, sidelining the U.S. as India offers seamless border trade. A key 2025 development was the January renewal of the Indo-Nepal Treaty of Trade, spiking imports by 17% with duty-free access. As of August 2025, amid Trump's oil-related warnings, Nepal's U.S. trade dipped to 6%, while Indian investments in Kathmandu's EV sector promise green growth, highlighting mutual benefits in a tariff-torn world. Number 1. Bhutan. Topping our list, Bhutan relies on India for over 80%, actually nearing 90% of its imports, including electricity, cement, and food, a dependency supercharged by Trump's tariffs that isolated U.S. engagement in South Asia. From an already high 89.5% base, Bhutan deepened reliance as Trump's protectionist waves made American goods exorbitant, allowing India's hydropower exports to dominate. This shocking stat teaches the perils of isolationism. U.S. tariffs sidelined America, while India's neighborhood-first policy solidified bonds. In 2025, a March joint venture for green energy saw imports rise 12%, powering Bhutan's gross national happiness model. By August 2025, with Trump's 100% chip threats, Bhutan's U.S. ties are virtually nil as Indian aid funds education and tourism, proving that in the age of tariffs, regional alliances reign supreme. There you have it, the 8 countries reshaping global trade by leaning on India while the U.S. watches from the sidelines. If this blew your mind, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Which country's story surprised you most? Stay tuned for more on 2025's economic twists.